Okay. We will wait until like 9:03. That's about the time that we started last time. Until a bit more people connect, and then we can start. Is everyone at their house?
Hi, Vero. I'm in the airport.
Hola, Sol.
Hola.
Where are you
¿Qué
going?
tal? I'm going to Madrid and I'm gonna have to board in like 10 minutes. So let's see for how long I can stay with you.
Well,
I,
good luck in Madrid.
thank you.
Hello, Anna.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to see you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too.
Well, Veronica, I'm waiting for one other, and then the team for Netherlands is complete.
Good.
So,
We have a good
almost,
attendance from the Netherlands.
Good morning.
of course.
Good morning.
And Belgium, eh? And Belgium.
Perfect.
Julie, I don't forget you. Hong Lan is there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Is Aurelie here? I'm texting her again.
I no, yeah, Aurélie is in.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Her name is the Timperman, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because maybe we have another Aurélie.
No.
No, she's in.
Okay.
So guys, I think you already know a little bit the drill, but during the presentation, just try to keep your mic muted as much as possible. There will be times that you will have to participate or that you can participate. And in that case, you unmute yourself, you speak, you say whatever you need to say, and then you mute yourself again so that we can carry on with the presentation and there's not that many interruption, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. What else did I want to say? Okay, we'll wait just maybe 2 more minutes and then we'll start. I'm just gonna put the presentation up.
Good morning.
Good morning. You guys can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think actually we can start. So I'm gonna start off by saying. Just one sec. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I just need to do one quick thing, and then I'll be right with you. Oui. Okay. We continue. Sorry. Okay, you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, it's good?
Yes.
And you can see me?
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's start. So for those of you who don't know me, I've actually seen quite a bit of familiar faces around here. My name is Veronica and I work in back office, now a camp trainer too. And I'm gonna actually give you guys today your first masterclass on sales. So you've had previous master classes on product and everything, so I kind of have a feeling that you guys know how this goes. But today we're actually going to talk about a few tips for you guys to be able to sell in store and everything. And actually, we're going to break up the content in, first of all, the I'm best selling steps. I think some of you guys have already seen it in like retail meetings or mid-season meetings. So it's going to be like a refreshment of kind of like the bold seller and all of this stuff that we've previously seen before. For those of you that this is new, it's actually going to be super kind of like a overall of basically where you go or how you go into the customer journey. And then we're going to talk a little bit about UPT and how you can increase it, which I'm sure you guys love to know how to increase your KPIs. And finally, we'll have a little bit of a question and answer session in case you guys have any questions after the presentation. By the way, if you feel like I'm going too fast, feel free to like unmute yourself and tell me like, can you repeat that again? Because sometimes I do that. I quite go quickly through the stuff. I'll try to pause myself as much as possible. And as well, if you have any questions, please try to leave them for the end. Just write them down and we'll be able to discuss about them. So before we jump into the selling steps, I would actually like to know, what do you expect as a customer when you walk into the store? Remember to unmute yourself if you want to say anything, but what are your expectations when you walk into the store? Like, for example, when I walk into the store, I like to see that the seller recognizes me, they look at me, and at least they smile and say hello. What do you guys usually expect when you are the customer? You're usually on the other side, but when you go shopping and everything, what do you expect?
Yeah, that exactly, that you walk in, people notice you, and if they recognize you, maybe they know your name. But in any case, they say hello, welcome, and let you feel welcome.
Yeah,
To say the least.
absolutely.
Positive atmosphere.
Positive atmosphere. That's very contagious. It's super important.
And that they try to
Eye,
connect with me.
Yeah,
eye contact is very important. To
eye
keep the eye
contact.
contact and smile.
An honest welcome.
Honest welcome. I like that. Yes, absolutely.
And a
Yeah, so
good product knowledge. I mean, that the customer directly sees that you know what you offer.
this is more like the first, like literally when you walk into a store, like obviously
Oh,
I don't think and, yeah, we'll talk about it later on. That's more when you kind of like, break the ice with your customer and you're already trying to make that relationship. But this is more like literally your first step into the store. What do you expect as a customer? So yes, it's basically that you have eye contact, that you smile, that you warm them, you welcome them warmly, sorry. And sort of give them that positivity that you have in that moment, because that is actually super contagious.
And what's also important, I think, is what you do not expect and sometimes happens when you walk in a store, that you get indeed no attention at all, but that the colleagues are like talking with each other.
Yeah.
So I have that sometimes when I walk in a store, and I find that so annoying that I really like, oh my God, this is like when you're a customer yourself, this should never ever happen, because you actually want to leave the store immediately when you see that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is not nice, because you don't receive any attention. You're going into the store because maybe you wanna buy a product, or maybe you want to just have an experience, but you're looking to be served in that moment, more or less. So these kind of things, when nobody says anything to you, you're kind of like, well, I'm nothing here, so I just leave.
Yeah.
So yes, actually, we'll go into 4 crucial customer expectations, and you guys have set a few points here and there. So the first one being consideration and respect. Your customer, when they walk in, they need to feel like they're unique or favored. They need to feel special in a certain way. And it's important that even though that you know your customer from before and you have sold big tickets to them and everything, if that customer walks in and a brand new customer walks in, they might be, like as important as that other customer later on. So you need to warn them both, like in the best way possible, in the most special way possible, in order to like give them sort of like the same experience. Um, so it's basically, you treat everyone the same way. Maybe your sort of like your speech with the customer that you know for a really long time is different, but the other one has to feel like they're unique as well. The second point is actually availability. So I know sometimes you guys are in the shop and maybe you're taking a delivery or maybe you're training one of your new sellers, but it's important that if a customer walks in, you're able to greet them and at least let them know that you will be with them eventually. So like maybe you tell the delivery guy like, okay, 1 second, I'm just gonna go tell this to a customer, go say something to a customer. You go to your customer and you're like, Madam, sir, welcome. Have a look around. I'll just be with you in right a second. Okay, so just know that you will be there for them eventually and that you're available for them. The third point is being flexible. Saying no is not an option for a customer, basically. Like a customer never wants to hear like, oh, can you please help me with this? No, like you need to try to go out of your way to make it possible for this customer to have the best experience. And actually, this can be as simple as maybe, maybe your customer buys a decent ticket of 400 euros and they want to walk the high street and maybe continue shopping, but they don't want to carry their bags. So maybe you offer them to leave them, in the till, behind the till, and you're like, if you want, you can grab them later when you finish shopping, and that way you're free to do whatever. So it's kind of like these little details that make up the rest of the experience, and you're not saying no to them.
They mattered, yes, that's true.
And then
out of the box also, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, like basically going out of your way or going the extra mile with them. And it's super small, those kind of things like, oh, I'll just, you lose nothing by keeping their products there for a little bit longer. They've already made the purchase. And then another crucial customer expectations is that they always expect a solution. And I know sometimes we try really, really hard to find them a solution, and sometimes there never is. But the fact that you're trying and that you're showing them that you're concerned, it's actually going to make them feel considered, and they're going to be okay with it. Like, as long as you show them that you really tried, it's going to be okay. So sometimes there's no solution, but you need to try to find a solution. And as long as you try, that's fine. So now that we know what our customers expect, we can actually jump into what are the selling steps. And there's actually two kind of views of seeing the selling steps. There's like a more traditional way, which is on the left-hand side, and a more American vintage way. We've kind of like sectioned it in our own particular way. So the first step is always welcoming and ice-breaking. In American vintage, is also seen as the welcoming and the ice-breaking. Then we go through discovering the customer needs, looking for propositions, doing the argumentation, and adding on sales, which in American vintage we like to consider as the exploration of desires. Then we would go through answering the objections that the customer has, the closing, and in American vintage we actually see this as the transformation of the customer. And finally, the conclusion, and in American vintage, we see this as the after-sales sort of experience. So first things first, the welcoming. As we already spoke, one of the first things that you do is to recognize your customer when they go into the shop. And actually, your first impression, it's going to be super fundamental for how you make the rest of your relationship, or how you set the tone for the rest of your relationship with your customer. So it's super important that you pay attention to these first 20 seconds in which you connect and you do that eye contact with your customer. This is then going to lead to your ice breaking. So I think most of you know, but ice breakings are super important because it's actually when you make more of an intimate connection with your customer. It's more of that bond or that interest that you show them in a certain way. And it's super important that when you try to use this catchphrase with them, you're supposed to be spontaneous, frank. You're not supposed to repeat them. So like maybe you have a way to personally do a catchphrase with each customer that comes in, but just not try to repeat them straight away. Like if a customer comes in and you tell them, oh my God, the weather, and then the other one walks in and you tell them, oh my God, the weather, it's not going to be as personal, is it? And then, of course, as I said, you kind of like adapt to the situation or the personality of your client when you ice break with them. So if we go into a little bit of examples, I already told you guys about the weather one. So maybe you can talk to them about, oh my God, what a weather, come inside and get warm. Or maybe if it's super hot in summer, you're like, oh, you can get a refreshment if you have like the Einweg cups and maybe you offer them water or something. You can also tell them like if it's maybe a customer that you've seen before in the store, you can tell them like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. How are you? There's times that you can talk about the product or like your new collection. But basically, these are like a few things that you can kind of tell here and there. Like you can talk about the brand and say like, did you know that this is a French brand from Marseille? Or maybe if you see them interested in a product, like they're touching a lot of the products, you're like, oh my God, yes, this fabric is so soft. Like it's made out of this. But just try to make your first approach with your customer
You
in a
can
more personal
you
way.
can
Yes,
give them a
sorry.
compliment.
Yeah, you can
You can
compliment them
give
on their
them a
shoes,
compliment.
on their clothing. Like if it's a very fashionable person, you go like, wow, your skirt is amazing. Or things that is gonna kind of create an interest and build a little bit of more of an intimate bond between you two. Of course, avoid any false politeness. So in every store they're gonna ask you like, oh, I'll let you have a look around, or is there anything else I can help you with, or um, well, I'll let you just have a look at the new collection. Like these kind of things are okay, but we want this ice breaking to be particularly personal. And also try to avoid as many close-ended questions like, can I help you? Or is there anything you like? Because the customer is just going to say yes or no, and you're not going to be able to, get a grip of what they're actually looking for. So now that we've done our welcoming, our ice breaking, we need to know what our customer wants. What did they come in the shop for? What is their desire? And for this, you kind of do like a customer profile. You need to know your customer. And for this, you kind of need to know what are their needs and motivations to buy. You need to know what is their relationship to the brand and maybe its identity. What is their personal taste? You kind of look at their clothing style and get a grip of that. What's the color that suits them best? Their morphology, etc. And after this, now that you kind of like, okay, I know what I'm looking for and everything, you need to know how to explore these desires. And this you can only do by asking the right questions. So actually, when you do this exchange with your customer, all of the information that they give you is going to be super essential to optimize your proposition as best as you can to them, even 100%. And sometimes maybe a customer cannot answer. And with that, you kind of like just help them by doing an assisted discovery in which you kind of just offer them a few things here and there from the conversation that you've had. And you take them step by step and kind of like confirm point by point throughout this kind of like exploration. And actually, when you start asking these questions, it's important that you don't interrogate them. Like you're not trying to interview your customer, you're having just a casual sort of conversation with them. So it's important that first of all, you do one question at a time. Two, that you listen to them. We've always spoken a lot about active listening. That you don't jump from pillar to post, so that you don't go from questions all over the place. Like you need to make this as clean as possible. You need to understand each other, basically. Don't interrupt the conversation, and try to avoid too many close-ended questions in a row, because then you're not going to get any information. Like the customer needs to be able to kind of like elaborate on their answer in order for you to find or get as much information as possible. And now that we've kind of like asked the questions, we also need to reflect a little bit of what are the motivations and the desires of the customer. And for this, we're going to look into their implicit, explicit, and complementary desires. So, the implicit, explicit, and complementary desires. Firstly, when we talk about implicit, explicit, and complementary desires, we will actually look first into the implicit desire. So the implicit desire is basically this customer that walks into your store and they don't know what they want. They're looking around, you see them strolling. They're just, they're the typical customer that tells you, I'm just having a look. And you're like, oh my God, what do I do with them? And then you kind of like just, here's when you have to start asking open questions. You need to get information out of them somehow. And from that, you kind of just you try to brainstorm, you try to create or trigger this crush in them. Maybe they told you that they like yellow or they're wearing yellow, and you take out one of our maybe products from our collection that is in color yellow, but like is beautifully knitted or whatever. You kind of just take it out, maybe put it somewhere else that is closer to them so they can have a look at it. But you kind of like just try to start to create this crush inside of them because they don't know what they want, they don't know what they're looking for. So you have to just ask them the right questions and then maybe just kind of like persuade them into your product knowledge and everything. Then you have your explicit desire, and this is the customer that walks into the shop knowing what they want. They come in confident, they're like, I want this, like this. And in this situation, it's super important that you're very, very assertive with your propositions, because this customer knows what they want and you need to be able to give them what they want with your product range. So in this type of situations, I would really suggest that you kind of like rephrase what the customer said, and with this build your argumentation. So for example, if a customer said that they wanted a white jacket, maybe you said like, okay, so if I understand correctly, you're looking for a white jacket, like super structured and everything, so I propose this. Simple. Now, if you're explicit, like, well, the customer that gave you this explicit desire, he already or she already has the white jacket, correct? So what we're gonna want to do now is create a complementary desire within them. So maybe you start to give them the white jacket, but give them a t-shirt underneath. And this will create for them to see the whole thing as like an idea, like a whole outfit rather than just the white jacket. So basically here, what you're trying to do is like propose a product without asking them what they want or if they want anything else. Like you're just trying to like kind of give them everything in one go, kind of like creating this complementary desire. And this is basically your mission, to generate these desires for them: the implicit desire, the explicit desire, and the complementary desire. So now that we look into the desires and we kind of found the motivations of our clients, I'm gonna actually give you a few ideas of open questions that you can ask to them in order to know what they want. So you can ask them what are you looking for today? What would make you happy today? You can ask them for who. So who are you looking for? Is it for you? Is it for someone else? How? Like what style, what fit, what fabric or color? Like, kind of like go a little bit more specific into the product. Why or where? Like for which occasion, or what is going to be the weather like? And with what? So what will you wear it with, basically? Sometimes some people have like an outfit in mind and they bought the t-shirt, but they didn't buy the pants. So they're probably looking for the pants now. Actually, these open questions will then help you to firstly know what are the constraints and know what the customer doesn't like or they won't like. And it will also help you have a few number of items in mind in order to match your customer demand. And this is actually super important because for this, in order to have like these items in mind, you need to be able to know your collection by heart. And by knowing your collection by heart, I don't mean, when you talk to your customer, you're not going to talk to them about references, because customers won't understand if you talk to them about references. By this, I mean, you need to know your color ranges. You need to know what the composition of the products is like, because customers that go into the shop, they want to know maybe more of the structure of the composition. They want to know maybe what's the color range. They want to know if maybe there's a shorter version or a longer version. They don't know about the references. So yes, it's important that you know your references, of course, but what I want to emphasize here is that it's important that you know how to use a casual vocabulary with your customers. Your customer is not gonna necessarily know what Son 36 is like. So it's important that you tell them like, look, we have a short sleeve or long sleeve t-shirt with v-neck or round neck, whatever. That's what this is more like what we mean by knowing your collection by heart. And after you've done all these questions, you'll be able to actually have 3 to 5 items in mind, not more than that. Don't try to propose more than that anyway, because it's actually going to be super overwhelming for your customer. And try to propose these pieces one by one, in order to, you know, for them to, for letting them kind of like reflect on them and decide if they like it or not, and don't overwhelm them basically. And as I said before, actually, it's super important that you kind of rephrase the customer demand, and in order to kind of understand that you're both on the same line and that you didn't forget anything and that you are showing that you're listening to them. So you're actually really caring for them. So as we said, rephrasing is super important, and reformulation is actually the appropriate term that we use for this. And we want to know, why is it important? Well, first of all, it's important because it kind of, as I said, you kind of validate your own understanding with the customer, and you kind of feel like you're on the same wavelength. The attention it demands, it helps you better remember what your customer said. It also helps your customer like feel that they're gonna be listened to, that they're understood, and to create this climate of trust. And with this climate of trust, you're kind of like also making them aware of what they said, and maybe encourage them to even talk about it or deepen their thought about what they said before. So maybe you actually get them to even talk more about the about the conversation that you guys already had, or the question that they already answered. It also helps, like in case of a misinterpretation, you know, your customer will feel free to maybe clarify what they meant. So you'll be able to like know if maybe, oh, you didn't understand correctly, and your customer was like, no, it's actually not like this. So what do we use reformulation for? Basically to summarize what the customer requests were in keywords, to synthesize the motivations for buying in order to build some leverage, and to confirm the customer's desires, basically. So what do we use it for? To summarize, to synthesize, and to confirm. And after you've done all of these, you've done all your questionings, you've reformulated, you've had all of these conversations with your customer, you know, you kind of like have in mind your propositions. It's important, well, actually, your customer is going to come up with 3 possibilities. Either 1, they give you a green light and they're like, yes, that's exactly what I need. Or they give you an orange light and they tell you, yes, but everyone loves yes, but, because everyone has a but for everything. And then red light, no, it's not that. So from these possibilities, you obviously, if you have green light, it's good, you're good to go, like you can do your sale. If they do orange light, so yes, but, this is actually when you want to transform your customer. You want to deal with the objection. Why are they saying yes, but? So why do customers make objections? You guys actually can tell me maybe a few ideas that you have in regards to why do customers would make an objection.
Maybe the price.
The price, okay. So if they have a problem with the price, for example, what would you do?
Talk about the material and why is as the
One at a
price.
time. Sorry?
Talk about the material.
Okay, so just tell them, like, kind of like explain to them, like, why
Is it worth it?
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Why do
Maybe,
customers says yes, but?
Maybe they have to get used to like a new style, for example, the big carrot jeans, and then you have to explain why it is a very cool model and try them or try to let them try it and love it.
Absolutely. Yes. So you kind of you need to reassure them. Some customers are super like, I don't know if I want to take it. I don't know if it looks good. This is when you need to reassure them. Like some people make objections because they need to be reassured. Something else. Come on.
Maybe
Color. Yeah.
they just started their shopping trip and you're the first store and they say, oh, maybe I want to go and look for further things to come.
Okay. I like this. It'll come later on. Actually, yes. Okay. We'll keep this in mind. I like this. Someone else?
They
Maybe
always
because
have
they want to
most.
see more options. They want
Okay.
to see more
See,
offer.
From you or
yeah,
from someone else?
No, from us. So when you
yeah.
sometimes they, because we are so much trained on the collection that I sometimes have the feeling when you're busy with the customer and you give them a solution too soon, they want to have more of the like the offer and the experience in their searching for items, you know? So
Like it was too
sometimes you
easy.
are too good with your proposition, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Actually, yes, this is the next point. So to test you, to test your knowledge, your sincerity, to think that you're actually putting all your heart and effort into it. And this will actually lead to the other points. So in the spirit of contradiction, as one of you already said, and sometimes to get rid of you, because it sounds crazy, but actually you will be able to tell. Customers sometimes have two ways to object. Either it's a way that is super sincere, and they tell you like, I don't know if it fits well, I don't know if it's the right color, and this you usually can fix or reassure them by using your expertise, skills, your product knowledge, everything. So this is fine. This is a way that you can actually reassure them, and maybe you can build onto that sale again. But there's a second way of objecting, which is actually one that we spoke about before. And it's sometimes the customer is like, but I want to see more options. Or maybe I have a coffee with someone else in 5 minutes and I don't have time to buy right now. And this is a type of customer that you sometimes, you have to let go because they're just making excuses
To not
that are
buy. Yeah.
external to, to the actual purchase that they would want to do. So it's important to know anyway how and why to deal with these type of objections. And when you get the customer that is sincere and that they don't really know, it's important that you make a dialogue with them, that you use this opportunity to talk to them. Don't disagree, don't ignore what they said, because this is not going to be right for them. It's important that you actually hear them out, like everyone has their own perspective, and it's okay. But as long as you recognize that, as long as you acknowledge what they said, they're going to feel valued, and they're going to, want to kind of like develop this conversation that is going to help you build trust with your customer. Anyway, the idea here is actually not to, force people, persuade them, or influence them too much, but it's actually to get people on board. So now that we reassured our customer, we can go to the closing of the sale. So how do you close a sale? Well, actually, there's two ways to see it. If you're a confident seller, you've reassured your customer and everything, you're going to have a reassured and super happy customer. But if you're a hesitant seller and you haven't really shown your customer that that you know how to decision make for them, because some customers are super self-conscious and they actually don't know how to decision make, so you have to help them or kind of like influence them into this decision making. And if you're not able to provide your customer with that, they're going to be worried and they're not going to be sure if they want to buy or not. And it's important that if you have a hesitant seller, a hesitant customer, that you kind of look for the root of that problem. You kind of like want to understand where this hesitation is coming from. So let's look at an example. Yes, actually, if you're credible, then you have the power. If you're confident, you have power, and you're credible, and your customer is going to feel really good. But back to the example. So let's say there's a customer that says like, oh, I love this sweater, but I don't know what to do. Well, maybe you can ask them like, oh, why are you hesitating about it? Like, I want to know. And maybe the customer tells you like, I don't know if I'll wear it. And all that you have to do, it's kind of like reassure them. You know what the hesitation is, so you reassure them. You're like, it's a great all-purpose color. You can mix it with jeans or a skirt, and it's even easy, and it's super easy for any season. Take it, you'll wear it. Um, and with these, actually, there's a few ways to look at how you can close a sale in order to also transform your customer. So the first of all is actually the puppy technique. This is when you kind of like just tell your customer, well, just take it, and if it doesn't go well, you can always come back. However, you have to be super careful with this because for this type of conclusion or closing sale, you need to be able to master your commercial policy super well. Like, for example, in American Vintage, we don't take refunds. We usually do credit notes or we do exchanges. So it's super important that you know these little things if you're going to go into this type of conclusion. Then there's the direct type of conclusion, in which is like you kind of like are in agreement with them. So you kind of like take the power, and you're like, okay, so we agree that you're gonna take the jumpsuit in blue. Or maybe you tell them like, yes, we're going for this this cardigan in 150 euros. That's fine. You have another type of conclusion, which is the optimistic future. And this is when you create this beautiful scenario for your customer, and they're going to imagine that they're drinking cocktails at the beach with this beautiful fluid American Vintage dress and beautiful print. And it's going to blend into the atmosphere, and you're going to feel like super fresh. The wind, look at the fluidity of the dress. You're going to picture this beautiful thing for them, and they're going to be like, oh my God, yes, I need to wear this dress for this very moment. I'm sure you all love to do this. There's also the balance sheet conclusion, which is where you outweigh your pros and cons. So maybe they tell them like, yes, but my sister already has the same jumper in blue. And you're like, yes, but take it in red, like it suits you super well. Then you can switch it around. And you kind of like just outweigh the pros for them instead of like telling them the cons, the consequences. Or the alternative or range sort of conclusion. And this is when you give them like basically a yes or yes sort of debate, I guess. But you kind of just tell them like, so do you prefer the blue or the green? Like, you're not going to give them an option. You're just going to tell them like, you're buying it, but you tell me the color. So once we've concluded with our customer, we go into the after sales experience. And there's two ways to see it. There's conclusion one, in which your customer is happy. They want to buy the product. So what do? Well, first of all, you accompany them to the till. You've already spent a lot of time with your customer in the changing room. You want to make sure that you kind of follow the whole process with them. So you accompany them to the till with their products and everything, and you take care of them there too. And second point, super important, and it's actually that you end your sale in a super good note. By this, I mean that you really have to continue this relationship and this conversation that you've already built through with your customer until the very end. You're not going to go to the till and you're like, yes, she's ready to pay, and you pay and they pay and that's it. And you lose that kind of like whole interaction that you've already made. You lose that connection. You don't want this. So actually, I want to ask you guys, how do you do this? How do you continue until the till, and how do you continue this conversation after you've already spent all this time with your customer, looking for their desires? Like, what do you guys usually do? How do you continue this sort of connection?
Yeah, you still have the conversation, so you continue with that. So you don't stop on the till and do your job to scan everything, but you continue with the conversation. It's also very important.
Yes, of course.
You can also introduce the loyalty program on the same time.
The loyalty program, okay.
That's for sure, yeah.
I mean, yes, you should try all the time, but just try to make this as natural as possible, of course. Like, you kind of like, maybe there's some customers that actually tattle about all their life, and you know half of like how many kids they have, so many things. So you kind of just don't want to, end this connection here. You want to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I always say something like when they buy something and they are really happy with it, or I just make like this funny comment like, oh my God, make pictures. Next time you come, I want to see it. I always try to do something for a next visit.
Yeah.
So those are the small things I naturally implement in the conversation.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
the thing, and depends on what the customer tells you during the selling process, and you ask questions and so on, and then you be like, hey, next time when you get here, let me know what happened with that situation, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
This is how you show the interest, that you were listening, active listening, and also would like to know more about the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of these are great ways to do it, of course. And I bet you guys have plenty of naturally ways to do it, but it's important that you're also conscious about it because maybe your seller doesn't know. So this is a way that you can feed them back information about, like, don't end the conversation here, like try to keep it with your customer, because sometimes we do these kind of things super naturally and we don't realize. So there's a second conclusion. What if your customer didn't buy anything? Well, if your customer didn't buy anything, that's okay, because after all, like, it might be a potential customer later on if they've never bought an American vintage, or it wasn't a sale this time, but that's fine. But every time that this happens, you kind of have to consider as well that you also have to thank them for their time. It's important that you recognize that this person came into your shop. It's important that you recognize that you spend maybe time with them. So thank them for their time. Offer them, obviously, the loyalty program if they're up for it. You can actually tell them, like, it's a good way to, keep up with that information or keep up with events that are happening in American Vintage, discounts, etc. You can offer them our virtual and personal shopping sessions that are going on at the minute because of the current situation. And sometimes it's super small, but if they've tried some items on and they really like them, but they're not too sure and they want to come back, maybe write those references down on a paper. They're going to think that's super considerate from your behalf. And then if they go into an American Vintage store or if they go on the website, they'll know exactly what to look for.
What I do now, because now is different times than before. We have the little cards from the shops, and I always write down the item they doubt about or something, and they have immediately a reminder always in their wallets with our telephone number, with a website. And even then I told them, for example, oh, you can follow us on Instagram. Did you see so much clothes, so much IDs? So they really love it.
Yes. We always do that the same way. We always write the items on our business cards, so they also have the number of the shop to call us.
Super good. Yeah.
And to ask always.
Okay. Well, this is a little graph of how the whole flow of the AMV selling steps go. Did you guys, you guys, most of you have seen this before through the Bold Seller and in previous mid-seasons. Is it good to get a refresher here and there?
Yes.
Good.
Definitely.
Okay, now, because we're losing, well, we're kind of out of time. Our favorite part, UPT. So, what is UPT? What does it stand for? Can you guys tell me?
Units per transaction.
Yes. Quick answer. Love it. But not just unit per transaction. So unit per transaction in common words is basically like the number of items that you sell per ticket. And it's important that we know why this is useful because, first of all, it measures your performance. So it's actually a great indicator to tell if you're a good seller, because if you're a good seller, then it means that your propositions are being super assertive for your customers, which means that they're buying more and your UPT is increasing. You see where I'm going here?
Mm-hmm.
And it actually will, of course, it helps you increase your performance because, as I said, if you're assertive with your proposition, then this means that your customer is going to be more willing to buy more, and this is going to increase your UPT. We're going to actually talk a little bit more also about the ways that you can do this. Firstly, I would like to know your knowledge on how to calculate UPT. So can someone tell me the formula of how to calculate UPT?
The number of items divided by number of tickets.
Yes, perfect. So that's your UPT for the day. The number of items sold during the day divided by the number of tickets you made. You guys might know how to do this, but it's important that your sellers also know how to do this. So make sure that your team is aware, and if not, that you show them how to calculate their UPT after the end of the day. Because I know we have tools now that tell you everything, but it's useful that they know how to do this from scratch. So how can you increase your UPT? Well, I'm going to give you a few tips. You're going to love them, I know, because everyone loved them last time. And it's good that, as I said before, that you feed this information to your team in order for them to be able to use these too. So firstly, we're going to talk about stop trying to sell just one item. So what do I mean by this? By this, I mean, like, if a product takes out a t-shirt, don't try to just sell them the t-shirt. Maybe they pull out the t-shirt, but maybe you put a cardigan on top of it so that you can show the color contrast. Maybe you put a cardigan on top of it so you can show the layering. Just try to make your customers see this as a whole image rather than just the t-shirt. So, and by this, you kind of like need to have like some outfit creations thought of beforehand. But as I said, it's important that they see this as an idea rather than just the product. Use the right language. I'm sure that maybe you guys haven't realized, but sometimes when you sell to your customer, maybe you don't use words that would actually trigger them to buy more. So for example, if you use words like outfit, complementary, collection, set, if you use these items in your dialogue with your customer, if you use these words in your dialogue with your customer, you're actually going to kind of trigger them unconsciously that maybe they should buy this as a set, or maybe they should buy this as part of the collection, or maybe they should buy this as a complementary outfit. And these words will help you actually push for them to buy more products than they were originally going to. So what I would suggest, actually, maybe you can challenge your team, maybe you can use it as a personal challenge, but try to use one of these 4 words, or try to use, like out of the ones that I said, set, collection, outfit, try to use them with your customer the next few times and see if it works. Like, just kind of like make it part of your natural conversation, but use them and push them in there to see if they end up buying more. Don't drag your customer to the till. Sometimes we don't realize, but maybe we're having a conversation with a customer and you're going to bring out the products, like maybe they tried a few products on and they decided that they didn't want to take some of them, and you take them to the till and you're kind of still conversing with them. And then the customer unconsciously also comes out of the changing room. You don't want that. You want for your customer to end the sale. You want to follow your customer. It's super important that you remember this, because sometimes your customers is not ready to stop, but it's kind of just going with the flow. And this is when you actually have to be like, okay, I have to make sure that I follow my customer instead of actually dragging them out of the changing room into the till. So as I said, the customer is the only one that can say stop, and just be patient. Just wait for them to do the first move and then you follow. So maybe, yes, you're floated with all of these items from them that they don't want, but just try to put them on the side somewhere in the meantime while you're continuing to talk to your customer. If not, just stop the conversation, let them try something else, take the items that they don't want and put them wherever you need to, and then come back to your customer and continue the conversation. But don't try to, verbally drag them out of the changing room, or don't try to, if maybe they've tried a few items and they're like, okay, yes, I'm taking this, don't take them to the till straight away. Just keep them on the side, and you know that you have to take them eventually, because this is going to end up ending your sale, and sometimes you don't want that. Maybe this customer is actually willing to buy more. Another tip, stop killing UPT sentences. So UPT killing sentences are actually like, would there be anything else? No, like there never is. Your customer is never going to tell you like, well, maybe they can, but it's usually going to be like, no, you know? And also asking them like, is that all? Try not to ask these kind of things. Like it kind of just cuts off the whole purpose of, you know, creating this conversation, and it's going to just end the sale for you. They're never going to, like, customers are never going to tell you if they're done. They're going to just like, yeah. Then selling like the expert you are. You are an expert in selling. So you know your product, you are confident, you have to be sincere with your customer. And sometimes you can do this by giving recommendations, not necessarily influence them or like forcing them to buy something, but recommending them to buy something with whatever they are buying. So for example, if a husband comes in looking for knitwear for their wife, you can actually suggest them beyond the knitwear, because actually if you buy the mass underneath and you recommend the mass underneath to buy with a knitwear, it's gonna benefit you in the way that the husband's gonna look like, oh, actually, yes, buying the mass is gonna be like softer for my wife. But you have to give them all of the points related to buying the mass underneath the knitwear. So you're gonna tell them like, yes, it's super soft on the skin, and you're gonna be able to wear with other knitwear that are not necessarily from American Vintage, but are super itchy. You know, you can use it like as a underskin layer for dresses, whatever you can kind of like argument in that moment. But the husband's gonna be like, yes, she's right. Like maybe I should buy it with, and there you go, 2 items instead of just 1. So yeah, so as I said, you need to have product knowledge, you need to be confident, and you need to be sincere. And then lastly, you should always put these items back in your customer's minds. So sometimes a customer tries a lot of things, they go to the till, and maybe they were hesitant about one of the products. And that's the point where you need to take it out again and be like, are you sure you don't want to take this? Just put it back in their mind, you know, like it's a quick reflect, like you've already taken it out, you're maybe gonna put it away later. So just pop it out in front of their face when they're at the till and kind of show it to them, and they might be like, oh, actually, I'm gonna do an impulse buy, and since I'm willing to already buy all of these things, I might as well buy the other thing. And there you go, more products. Ooh, my little t-shirts are there, I don't know why. Anyway, so there's a few ways to kind of like add on these sales and increase your UPT. And it's important that you kind of know what cross-selling is and add-on sales is, because this is the way to understand how to increase your UPT as well. So firstly, let's go into the definition a little bit of what cross-selling is. It's basically by adding additional products or services to an existing customer. So this is what we've spoken about before. It's basically going beyond your customer request and creating this whole world around this initial product. This is a good phrase to kind of like sum everything up. So daring is a decisive in your ability to offer, to innovate, to secure a sale. And we also need to know, well, how do we cross-sell? Well, first of all, you have to be assertive. You have to make sure that your suggestions add value to whatever your customer is looking for. So for this, as we spoke about before, like, you know, you have to look at their style, do active listening, make sure you know how to rephrase. So, well, as you told me this, or if I understood well, or you can tell them like, I can see that you like, you know, just try to use all of the support that we've already spoken about, basically to kind of be super assertive with your sale and give this support, like be able to build your argumentations. And finally, it's also good that you have like your bouquet ready or your winning combinations ready. So maybe do a few workshops with your sellers and think about, maybe if you take a product one day and you're like, okay, let's build an outfit around this product. And you kind of like do a workshop within that in order to be able to, afterwards, if a customer takes that product out, you'll be able to like create an outfit straight away for them. So have a kind of like these winning combinations in mind. If a customer ever comes into the store like just looking for one item and you're able to propose them like a whole look. And yes, that is basically it for today. So this is overall, as I said before, like some of you have already seen the training on the bold seller. I'm sure the UPT, tips are going to help you later on to increase your UPT. So feel free to ask any questions now if you have any. My images are like all over the place.
I don't have a question. It was a very good presentation, but
Yes.
Please send it to us because it was a bit quick, and
Yes.
then I can also share with my team and take another look at it. But it was really nice.
Thank you.
And just a refresh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of sometimes it just goes super quick.
No, it's okay.
It was very clear though.
Thank you. It was clear, refreshing, and nice.
Good. Have you guys kind of thought about these ways to increase your UPT?
Some of them, no.
Yes.
Were you ever conscious, maybe like, oh my God, but I asked them, is that all? And like maybe this is actually killing your UPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably actually.
Yeah,
Or
of course we are human. Yes, sometimes.
Of course.
Yeah.
These trigger words like outfits and combinations are really good to use even more in the fitting rooms, of course.
Yes, absolutely.
I
wanted to ask.
Excuse me. I think the only thing when you do whatever you do with the cross-selling and everything, you have to do it naturally. You don't have to show the customer that it's a must and to put a pressure on you because the customer feels it. It has to come on a very natural way, I think, and then it really works.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have to be kind of like, in order to be able to, propose new things, you need to be familiar and kind of like, as I said before, retrieve all this information from before and work around that. Like if you take something out that they don't like and they clearly know that you haven't heard anything that they said, this is going to be like a lost sale. It's going to be a lost of time for you and also for the customer. They're going to be like, she doesn't know what she wants. Like she doesn't know what I want, sorry.
It is, of course, the first important step, the active listening, and also don't overload the customer because at the end of the day, if you give them too many examples, too many items, they're so overloaded that they don't buy anything at all because they're like, oh, that's too much for me now. I can't make a decision.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. Less is more sometimes, and but the right products is the right thing, and that's what I can say.
What I notice now is that people want to buy more like wall outfit because before they buy t-shirt there, pants there, and there is no an outfit at all. So it's more natural now to sell one outfit. They know how to wear it, and then I have a conversation. But I see you walk in what you are telling. I had customer like this week, so she was like,
they walk into the store and they're like,
she was like, oh, you see me on the beach? I say, yes, I see you, and she bought it. So
exactly. See, if you paint this scenario for them, they're gonna be like, oh my God, yes, this is exactly what I need in my life right now.
It works. It really works. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, before I let you go, I would like to ask you if you have any ideas or anything that you would like to work in particular for the next masterclass on sales.
Maybe like super interactive on winning looks and combinations. I love that.
Yeah. More IDs, maybe.
Yes, so we can like brainstorm together what's
Good idea.
match
Okay.
for this.
Let me
Is
make
it
it more specific because I'm not super strong on product. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Maybe more regarding sales.
Shame on you.
Oh,
Shame
sales.
on you.
I'm sorry. Maybe more regarding like sales.
Maybe
like
more
selling.
the
When it comes to
difficult customer, because it's easier, of course. We have a lot of knowledge about the items and how to do the selling, but and objections. But what do you do with customers that come in your store actually with a negative story? And how to turn it into a positive one very naturally. So how to do that, because it's our daily life is not always positive.
Okay.
It's mostly negative.
Deal with
No,
it.
but we want to make it positive always, So there has to be a way to also deal with of course the customer who is coming in and you're being very positive and smiling and they're just totally ignoring you. But for sure, if they come in, for sure they might be looking for something. So there must be tricks to do something with them instead of thinking, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes people come in and you say hello and they're like, I'm just gonna look around. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
So there must be there must be a psychology, or maybe you can investigate a psychology about those people that we can use.
Yeah, some people are honestly though, some people are just in a bad mood sometimes and they just, but I don't understand that maybe they're going shopping because of that, because they want to get in a good
Bad mood or you had bad experience?
Yes,
We
of
just
course.
have to keep
it's
this
normal.
positive vibes.
I sometimes go shopping when I'm in a bad mood and then I end up buying. I do an impulsive buy and I feel so much better.
It's called retail therapy.
Exactly.
How to recognize the emotional buyer.
You feed them, you give them candy when they walk in.
Chocolate's always good.
Exactly.
Veronica, we talked about cross-selling. What about to talk also about next time about upselling?
Absolutely. So upselling is actually has to do more with the ATV. So maybe we can make like tips on ATV.
Exactly.
Thank you. Because I don't know if you guys know, but cross-selling is more like adding onto your onto your basket, as we said, and then upselling is more adding more value to your basket.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? If not, I let you go because it's 10.
Sorry, can I? Hi.
Thank you, Veronica.
Julie.
Veronica, I have a question. Maybe it's possible. I don't know when the next training is. Find a nice phrasing, because in Germany most of the stores are closed. Maybe because I write to most of my customers to let me know if they like to pick up something, because if we have an appointment, we can sell to them at the door. Maybe to find nice phrases to make more people respond.
Nice.
To come and buy. Like, I write an email to them, right? Telling them, okay, our store is closed, but if you find something in our online shop, blah, 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 let me know. Then you can come to the store and pick them up. Most of the people don't respond, only some of them. Maybe to find nice phrases in a written way to make them want to buy at our store.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's possible.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding completely though.
Okay. You understood, right? Our stores are closed, and since we don't have like really click and collect, I write to my customers that if they're interested to come in the store and pick something up, we can sell to them at the door. So, you know, we have no chance to talk to them in the dressing room, but to make them interested to make an appointment with us. So
Okay.
find nice written phrases to make them come to our store.
Okay, I get it now.
Like catching
Sorry.
attention, have a nice phrasing, because I only have, like, I write to 50 customers and I get 2 response. So maybe have something more catchy, more words to make them curious to meet us at the door and not in the store.
Okay, I understand now. Perfect. Okay, I'll look into that. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to let you go.
Okay, thank you very much, Veronica.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
A lovely day.
Gracias, Verónica.